Hello out there in YouTube land or Facebook land or internet land, wherever you happen to be watching this from. Welcome to the Dallas Environment Network. We have a special guest today from the Watermark Project. It's Kelly Schnare. Welcome, Kelly, and thanks for agreeing to do this interview.
Thanks, Mary. Happy to be here.
Great. So your picture tells the whole story. There's a picture behind you of a lake. Tell us, Kelly, what is the Watermark Project?
Thanks, Mary, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it, and I'm really happy to be here to help share the story of the Watermark Project. It is an online archive. We have a collection of organizations, of collectors, of special places in an international way that are archived on the internet. So the Watermark Project is a demonstrational archive of a water body somewhere that is a part of who you are.
Oh, wow. Who thought of this idea? Where did this idea come from?
Yeah, it's a community effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's a grassroots effort to archive true stories about the ways people interact with water. And so these stories help us all recognize our dependence on water and highlight water's influence on our culture. So by saving and studying these stories, we help protect the waters that we love. It's been in existence for a number of years, based out of an organization called Swim, Drink, Fish in Ontario.
Oh, cool. So how do people get involved in this, in the Watermark Project? How do they get involved?
Well, locally, I'm a collector as a part of my organization entitled Reimagining Atlantic Harbors. And what we do is take these qualitative data points and we bring them together. We bring people's stories from a community level, from a neighborhood level, and we collect these stories in order to understand the special places in our own backyards better. And we design infrastructure using those stories. So you can see one behind the wave downtown and one in DeWolf Park. And we do this through workshops. So interactive, engaging, and in-person workshops. Since COVID, we've had to step back from that community-facing, engagement-oriented, face-to-face workshop, and we've relied more on opportunities like these to share and spread the word. And I would be more than happy to walk you through the process of what a watermark is and why your story is really important. So Murray, I might, if you could, ask you where your special place is. What do you identify with when you think about a place that you love and connect to on a regular basis? Where is that?
Okay, well, one of my special places, it's hard. This is a hard question because there's so many growing up. I grew up in Dartmouth, so Graham's Grove was one of my favorite places where we would go swimming. Visit Lake was another favorite place just behind my parents' house. But one place that's special to me now is a place called Fancy Lake. And it's because one very close friend has her home on Fancy's Lake, and she lives very close to where I work. So after work, a lot of days after a stressful day, I'll take my swim trunks and towel with me in the car, and I'll head off to my friend Joan's place. We'll go for a swim. We'll bob out in the water. She has a nice float in the water. We'll jump off the float and release some stress, and then just bob around the water and talk about our day and you know what's going on in the world, and just sort of relax. The story, there's a myth to Fancy's Lake where when I first moved to the area, they told me this story, and that it's that one guy once was swimming in Fancy Lake. There's a large amount of snapping turtles that inhabit Fancy's Lake. Now, a lot of times you'll be swimming and one will bob its head up in the water, but they are more scared of you than you're scared of them. But if you've ever seen a snapping turtle up close, they're a fierce looking thing. They're very prehistoric looking and kind of look like a dinosaur. You know, the head on them is kind of scary looking, but the story of Fancy Lake, or the myth, is that a guy was swimming in Fancy Lake once, and somebody said that a turtle came up, and snapping turtle, and grabbed him by the foot and drug him down and drowned him. And the turtle was as big as the hood of a car. That's the myth behind Turtle Lake, or behind Fancy Lake. But I've been swimming there for probably about 20 years now, and have yet to be attacked by a snapping turtle. But that's my attachment to that's my Watermark story. So.
And I really appreciate that. It's a beautiful story built, steeped in history and folklore, as well as everyday uses, and how you can, connect with your neighbors and unwind after work. And so what we would do is we have a worksheet with a number of questions that talks about the temporal issues around how it's changed, why people are there in the beginning, how you learned about it, to development issues or spatial qualities about how it's changed or how it's changing, maybe based on climate change or, human encroachment or pollution. And really understanding your special place. So we pin it on a map. So it's a very local place. The beach that you go to, we could put the coordinates in. We write down, sometimes verbatim, sometimes not, exactly what you said, and maybe including a picture or two about snapping turtles, Fancy Lake in the winter. We like to talk about seasonality too, and how it changes, so that we can encourage people to not just think about the blue sky opportunities that we're often presenting. When we talk about places that we love, we usually talk about them from peak experience levels, so that if it's raining, we wouldn't visit it. If it's icy, it's unapproachable. Whereas a lot of our special places aren't monitored in the winter. They're not maintained by governments, based on the fact that we haven't expressed enough concern for those places that we use them out of season. And so right now our beach seasons are only 8 weeks long, monitored, safe, protected with lifeguards. But our special places should and could be monitored and looked after all year round. And it's encouraging folks to bridge that connection, to celebrate that space in a way that we could potentially spur more efforts to be surrounding what to look out for, like the snapping turtle, how the lake is changing from year to year, if there's algae blooms potentially, if there's pollution outlets, let's say there's road salt that's being poured into it, or sewers overflowing based on heavy and frequent intense rainfalls that are becoming our new normal. So how are these lakes being influenced on a more macro scale? So we have individual observations and connections that we're able to share, and we need to remember that the communities that we're a part of need to hear those stories, and then they can help inform those stories. But with the archive, with the Watermark Project, we're able to share those experiences and demonstrations of concern more widely, so that that learning and understanding of those special places can be delivered in a more robust way.
Yeah. Now you mentioned this is it's an archive. How can people watch this or get in touch with this?
Yeah, well, the watermarkproject.ca is watermarkproject.ca is a great one, but also my website, raw2050.ca, is a great way to go to the Watermark Project and then to learn more about becoming a community-based environmental monitor as well. And so there's lots of opportunities there.
Okay, so we're going to post those below in the description of the video, so that if people want to get in touch with you, or they want to look at the other ones, because there's Gloria McCluskey, I think, was in one of the videos. A former mayor of Dartmouth was talking about her special Watermark project. It's a really neat project, Kelly. I just want to say thanks so much for taking the time to talk to people about it. I want to say too, to all the Anglicans that are watching out there, remember the marks of mission. Remember that one of the marks of mission is to care for God's creation. This is a special product that especially speaks to this mission. So it might be something that you want to consider bringing into your churches and your parishes to maybe get involved in and help out with this project. It's a great project.
Marie, I'd love to leave the audience with a quote from Albert Marshall, a great Mi'kmaq elder from Eskasoni, who speaks to observations requiring a sense of authenticity, accuracy, and sacredness. Without the two-eyed seeing approach of the scientific processes we work with, in terms of quantitative and qualitative data, we can look at it from a 7 generations perspective, how our actions are influencing people, the next generation in 2050, but for many generations to come. How can we make sure that sacredness is intact, that our stories are truly authentic and can have lasting impact, and the information we're sharing is accurate in a way that perhaps powers and governments have told us isn't. So really empowering those grassroots voices to speak up, to be louder, and to be prouder of the places that are in our backyards that form us, that make us who we are, and truly Canadian in that sense.
Yeah. Good thoughts there, Kelly. Thank you. So thanks very much. That concludes our interview, but like we said before, we will post the information that's underneath in the description of the video. But Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to explain this. It's a really great project. Thanks.
Pleasure, Marie. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.